Hey again, guys, it's Aseem Sharma, training manager from Solframe Consulting. I do hope you're all well. I want to talk about how to establish yourself in a place. So perhaps you're wondering what exactly I'm getting at here, so just bear with me for a few minutes. I hope you'll be able to follow. Um, Essentially, how do you set an expectation when you perhaps join a new company or you meet someone for the first time? Or you are acquainted with something that you normally don't do. So, let's say you join a new job, and this is the most practical way to explain it. Of course, you would try to familiarize yourself with the environment and their policies. Typically, a lot of employers follow a kind of set of guidelines, right, about do's and don'ts, and what is it considered acceptable and so on. And then you obviously have that kind of social culture and norms, as we call them, norms and guidelines of society. Having said that, everyone is different in their own way, and we have broadly a few different kind of personality types. Then again, everyone is kind of eager and anxious to make a good impression. And yes, unfortunately, first impressions do count, but I am personally of the view, or I hold the view that things change, and with time people can also change, or perhaps you just see a different part of themselves being expressed. That happens, and that can be a good or bad thing, or it could be neutral as well. So let's say you're joining a new job and you're in an induction setting and you're meeting new people and you say, hey, nice to meet you, and so on, whether you actually mean it or not. I personally don't say that. I just say hello, and people would find it amusing because I am intrinsically introverted, but then I can also speak a lot as well when I'm in a comfort setting. But then I'm also prepared to exit that comfort zone and explore the new, because otherwise I just feel as if life becomes very stagnant. And I would encourage you guys to do it as well. Come out of your comfort zone, and I've mentioned this before, and see what you can do with yourself in terms of creating new opportunities, meeting new people, and just exploring a different aspect of life. Now, although for arguably political correctness or trying to make that first good impression, you are pretty quiet or you're neutral. If you come across someone who maybe, and I've mentioned this before in previous videos regarding personality, someone who may be at loggerheads with you in the future, as in they may create problems for you, but you're not sure, it may just be a misunderstanding or so on. I would say that this is the first step, and this is the best opportunity to assert yourself. And it doesn't need to be done to a very huge extent to have that effect, because it's the first time. That's the key, right? So timing is key. So you don't want to be trampled over. You don't want to be taken for granted. So let's say, I don't know, something very simple, and this has happened to me before actually. I was at an induction, and they had not provided writing utensils, so pens or pencils. Paper was provided, and they were waiting for them. So in the meantime, the HR was going on about something, and I felt that it was important. I have the habit of note-taking documentation, which is again one of the videos that we've mentioned, and what my manager keeps telling me to do, which is great. So I was proactive. I like taking initiative. I had a pen with me. I usually come prepared anyway, and I started writing it down. Now, if someone needed to borrow that pen and asked that, look, Aseem, or sorry, excuse me, do you mind if I borrow your pen for a minute? Naturally, I would comply most of the time. Take this. I had put the pen down, and I was about to pick it up, and the person sitting next to me, he just helped himself to take the pen. Now, I've seen this happening, similar situations, with other people, and the person who falls to be the victim, so as in I, would feel embarrassed or cringe to actually say something to the other person who is actually behaving inappropriately and say, excuse me. I'm not saying no one would stand up, but a lot of people feel hindered for some reason. Either they don't want to create a scene, they don't want to show that there's conflict or whatever. But I'm not one of those people. I believe that conflict, as long as it leads to a productive outcome, is healthy, it's fine. So the moment he did that, I started looking at him, And then after about 10 seconds, I said, "Excuse me, did you not think it would be polite to take my consent or permission to do this? You do know that we're waiting for it. If I have come organized and I want to write something, that doesn't give you the right to impose." Now, again, that may be a cultural thing. I mean, I'm not saying all of us in India are rude, but we don't always think that permission is required, and maybe compared to other cultures. And for me, having had newly arrived in India, it was a bit of a shocker. Although I was aware of what happens, I was like, this is strange. I'm eating something in the cafeteria and someone will just help themselves to start eating along with me without, asking. I find that incredibly rude. But anyway, so I said that to him. He just looked at me and almost in kind of surprise that you didn't just say that. And I said, "I'd like my pen back, please." And still he was holding it. Then I raised my voice. I said, "I'd like my pen back, please." And then he gave it, and obviously attracted attention, but that was not my intention to attract that attention. That's just incidental. And then I just picked up my stuff and I said, "I do not feel comfortable sitting next to you. All right, this is my first day of a new job. All right, I'm trying to settle down, and I don't need negative people like you." It just came out, and a few people started clapping. That was not expected, honestly. But I sat down somewhere else. And then a few other people helped themselves to sit next to me who were sitting around him as well. Now, again, if that's a kind of virtual following or whatever, great, but that, again, was not my intention. To this day, I'm still friends with some of those people. So they are positive people generally, and they respect my boundaries, which is what I think, all of you should do. As in, try to acquaint yourself with people who respect you for who you are. Okay, they accept you for who you are. And they don't cross that line, and they will be there generally in time of need, and they won't take advantage of you. That's very important, because peer pressure can be a very negative thing. It can get you into a lot of wrong habits, and I have fairly strong boundaries, so I don't let people cross that, regardless of how close they are to me. So what I'm trying to get at is I established at that point, in front of a bunch of people, maybe 20, 30 people, actually I think it was about 50, and the HR as well, that listen, Aseem is a kind of guy that, he is polite, he's courteous, but if someone oversteps the line, even if it's just 20 minutes into a new job, he's not going to take it. So I set that impression, and I carried that legacy on. So generally people would be careful not to overstep that, and it's not to instill fear into people. I'm a very approachable, helpful person. It's nothing like that at all. It's just that don't overstep this line, or else something may happen. And it's healthy to be angry, but obviously to channelize that anger in a professional setting in an appropriate way. Okay, and I've mentioned this before. How do you deal with awkward situations? How do you deal with odd people, jerks even? All right. It's very important to establish your identity, and don't be in a rush to do it. Don't think that you have to show to do it. You will be, you will encounter situations which give you the opportunity to present yourself and express yourself. Okay, you should never miss those opportunities. Even if you feel that, from within, you feel that I feel a hindrance, just remind yourself, what are you doing? And is it good for you? And is it negatively affecting anyone? No, not really. Maybe the guy will get embarrassed. Well, so he should be, right? He was the one in the wrong, and I'm not going to fault on that. So it's always good at the earliest opportunity, be it at the workplace, or let's talk about a relationship. I have no personal experience, but what I would say is that with friendships, if you can call them that, because a friend in need is a friend indeed, as the saying goes, but I haven't always, seen people upholding that. I feel that a lot of people kind of shy away from helping you out in time of need, and then you really do know who's your friend, right? And I mentioned this before in a previous video as well. But let's say that you're good friends with someone, or you want to be with someone. If you feel that they just take you for granted and contact you when they need to, they don't really want to listen to what you have to say. They're not open to feedback. Criticism is another video that I made lately, how to deal with criticism, and if people can't accept it, maybe your criticism is unfounded, but more likely they just have a toxic way of dealing with it, and they're very kind of insecure and guarded, which is not a good thing, because that doesn't allow you to grow. That suppresses you. That's very oppressive, actually. So you kind of realize that you need to kind of set things straight. And if people have kind of taken you for granted for a long period of time, or as the time increases, that gap increases, excuse me, you suddenly start putting your foot down, and they say, hey, hang on, what has happened to you all of a sudden? You were not like this before, or maybe I didn't see this part of you. That is why I say timing is key, and at the earliest possible opportunity, you should, assert yourself and establish yourself and say, look, this is my identity, this is what I'm comfortable in doing, this is where I'm going to say no. If you like it, fine. If you don't, that's not my problem. And if you don't want to have an association with me because of that, and you're going to block me, or you're going to, make me feel guilty for it, I'm not going to accept that. That's your issue. If you want to grow up, you want to have some space, and then perhaps can talk about it and, reconciliate, then great. Otherwise, I don't need you to be part of my life. It's one of those things. So over here, I'm not giving relationship advice, but what I'm trying to say is, be it your work environment, be it your friends, be it a relationship, you need to be able to establish your identity, make sure you're not taken for granted, and do it at the earliest possible opportunity so that further down the line, you do not experience problems. I personally believe observing other people whose relationships may or may not have failed, or experiencing other issues, maybe they have issues with their manager or whatever, it's because perhaps certain expectations were not set in the beginning, and people have taken others for granted. And then when someone does decide to speak up, it's not exactly late, but the other person has got so conditioned to seeing or perceiving you in a certain way that they refuse to accept that this person can actually speak up for themselves. And that's a very wrong thing. That's a very toxic thing. So live your life like there's no tomorrow, and do what you've got to today. Now, I'm not saying you start screaming at people and saying that, look, this is me and I should be accepted for who I am, irrespective of what you think. No. But do it in a gauged, in a metered way. I've mentioned this before as well. Do it in a way, right from the outset, right from the start, no matter how small the issue is, whether someone needs to borrow something from you, whether it's money or a pen, or they need a favor from you. How far can you go, and where are you comfortable in saying, and you should be comfortable in saying, no, I'm sorry, this is not possible, without feeling obliged to help the other person, because it infringes on something that you believe in, or it's unethical, or whatever it may be. That, look, this is something I'm not going to do. And if someone says that, well, you're not really my friend, and said that, well, okay, I think you have a misperception there. I'm not responsible for that, but I'm not going to do that. So it's one of those things. That's what I'm trying to say. Anyway, I've been speaking for almost 15 minutes again. I do hope you found this useful. Please do subscribe to this channel if you haven't already done so. If you have any comments or questions, you're welcome to ask them. I will try to respond to them. Please also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. We have posts on LinkedIn as well. I post written content there as well. And, of course, Telegram. So till next time, please do stay safe. I hope you've enjoyed this and found this informative. Take care. Thank you very much, and bye-bye.